Hello, Thumpers. Hello, people of Hyper RPG. Welcome to Ready to Ramble. Hello, everybody. Hello. Folks, thank you so much for joining us. Ready to Ramble, the wrestling show here on Hyper RPG. Every Saturday, we bring you what is happening in wrestling news. We talk about some homework, and then we speculate on upcoming major events. Joining me, as always, Miss Sarah the Rebel.
Hello, everyone.
And Iffy could not be with us today because he is in...
Dumb.
Well, no, he's in a show
That doesn't
tonight
mean he's not dumb.
that I helped write. So I'm very happy he's going and learning his lines. I don't think I actually wrote
I'm
any
gonna
for
have to
that
headbutt
character.
him again when he comes back.
Oh, that headbutt was brutal last week. But Sarah, who's with us in the middle chair?
Heather Monroe.
That's me.
Heather is a wrestler. Tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a professional wrestler here in SoCal, and I trained at Santino Bros Wrestling Academy, where I met Sarah. And I just travel around kind of Las Vegas, Arizona, and SoCal and wrestle.
It's been pretty awesome. Heather is really inspirational to me, especially when I was training at Santino's. We're not going to get too emotional because I don't want to cry. But she's really awesome, so I can't wait for you guys to learn more about her. But first, we're going to dive into the news. Remember, if you have Q&A questions, try to save them to the end so we don't miss them, and we will answer those at the very end of the show.
And if you have questions for Heather, for sure.
Oh,
Indie
please,
wrestling,
yes.
anything like that, do that for sure. But also, and Heather, we're going to throw some other non-wrestling questions your way because this channel serves so many masters. It's very geeky. Okay.
They were like, you can't have a wrestling show because we're geeks. And we were like, shh.
We'll show you. But Sarah, what is happening in the world of wrestling
Oh,
news?
man, Mick Foley done got himself fired, a.k.a. I think he's going to go have that hip surgery that he really needs. Speaking of hip surgery, sorry, this isn't part of our news, but...
Are you announcing you're going to take some time off or you need one?
I need hip
need
surgery.
To be fired?
No, please don't fire me. Jeez, I just got here. The Undertaker showed up in a match this week with Braun and Roman, and after throwing Braun out, the camera was still on his face, and he winced and made like a really pained face grabbing the ring before turning around. So I'm really just getting more and more nervous about them making him do shit.
It is, yeah.
It's really, you can see from the way he moves, like the man's in a lot of pain. So I'm real nervous for him. But yeah, so Mick Foley is out as the Raw general manager. Who's going to be the new general manager?
Well, considering it was a heel tactic to fire him, it was Stephanie who did it, and we're going right into WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
So this Monday this is the lead-up show to WrestleMania. We're gonna do all our WrestleMania speculation next weekend for sure. But yeah, the new GM. I mean, is it just gonna maybe be Vince or like another McMahon momentarily?
They're saying Kurt Angle might come back.
Ooh, I do like
Stone
that.
Cold could come back. It could be no GM for a while just to kind of boost the evilness of Stephanie. You never know. I love how good Stephanie is at being a heel. She's just probably one of the best heels working right now. Besides, like her, Kevin Owens, Charlotte, like she just immediately knows how to make the crowd angry and also how to shut the crowd up, which is a really awesome skill. So I'm interested to see where it goes. There's a lot of speculation. If you guys are curious, you can Google and find a few articles talking about who should take over as new general manager.
I do want to ask a question about The Undertaker. So this also what happened this week. This isn't in our news briefs, but this week Undertaker went and not in character as far as I can tell, went to the Texas Longhorns and gave like a big impassioned, "You're my favorite team" kind of speech. I feel like we're seeing in the last 2 or 3, like Taker is a guy who he doesn't have a Twitter account. He's really keeps kayfabe for that character. But in the last 2 or 3 years, we have seen a lot of Undertaker going to events. He went to he went to an NBA team and dressed in character, shaking hands with the players and all that. And it's just so interesting to see this guy who for 30 years is I'm this character, you never see me break, this, that, and the other. And now it's the last 3 years seems to just be
He doesn't care
Might
anymore.
as well.
Yeah.
Why not?
It's not a judgment. I just find it fascinating.
It is cool. I mean, he deserves it. He's been working and keeping kayfabe and doing an awesome job for, like, you deserve it, for so long. Let the man go to the NBA game and terrify a few people.
The Cavs, yeah, the Cleveland
That's
Cavaliers.
pretty
That's
cool
right.
that he completely dressed up. Like,
Oh, have you seen those photos?
no, I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
I haven't seen him either, so pull him up because that sounds
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
We
yeah.
have low disk space on this PC. Did you guys know
it'll be
that?
Fine. It'll be fine.
I don't know what the next piece of news is, so it won't be that fine.
Just those.
I do know that someone in the chat said that Sarah's shirt is cool.
Yeah.
And this is my tag team, the Killer Bays, with Laura James. And yeah,
Who some of
everyone
you-
should check that out.
Yeah, you guys should definitely check it out. Those many of you know who Joey Ryan is, right? So it was really awesome to find out that you were part of the tag team Killer Bays because it was before. So I don't know. Sometimes I look at people and I don't really recognize them when they're in the ring, and then you meet them in real life, and then the next day I'll go home and be like, oh, I've actually seen you a million times. So that's really awesome. I love this shirt. I just bought this shirt. You guys should buy the shirt as well because it's cute. And we'll talk more about your merch and stuff later on as well.
So this is the Undertaker with the Cleveland
Why-
Cavaliers.
Oh my God, he looks fake.
It looks like somebody photoshopped him in
Well, this
there.
is what's great. This is great. Lucas, stay on this because I'm going to look at some of the different Google images real quick. What I love about this is when you're seeing like Undertaker with all these NBA players, he looks small.
He does, yes.
That's the interesting thing about seeing wrestlers in real life.
Looks like a tiny dude.
They either look like smaller than you expect in real life, or they're all like bigger because they're around so many big people that
Right.
you like don't realize how big they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
That happened to me with was it Gallows from Gallows and Anderson.
huge.
Yeah, but I never noticed how big he was because he's always around all these other wrestlers. And then he walked by me and I was like, you're
Well,
really big.
I feel like we saw that. We might have talked about it on the show. I feel like that happened a little bit with John Cena, where it's like Cena's a big guy, but like in the ring, he's maybe one of the medium guys because so many of Cena's matches are like he's going against a giant who's gonna rip him apart, and then you see a movie like Trainwreck where he's next to normal people, and you're like, holy crap,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's gonna break Amy Schumer in half
Gonna
just by
break
touching
her in
her.
half.
Yeah.
So we also this week found out that Shawn Michaels turned down an AJ Styles WrestleMania match.
I'm okay with this. I think that would have been a hell of a match, but there's a lot of amazing wrestlers who, I think, like sadly, maybe the main answer would be Ric Flair, as like these wrestlers that had these great retirement matches. They went out, and then they had to keep going, and it kind of, it didn't hurt that match, and it didn't hurt the beautiful moments of those retirement ceremonies, but it kind of hurt the reputation. Like,
Right. I think Shawn Michaels even mentioned he wishes AJ Styles had been around like 10 years ago. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, Shawn Michaels and now AJ Styles match. That would be like delicious, perfect.
like
but
buzz cut AJ Styles.
Right, yeah. I know. We want now AJ Styles, soccer mom AJ Styles.
I feel like Shawn Michaels is probably aware that he can't give AJ Styles the match that like
Right.
he really deserves with Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that was the interesting thing about Mania last year when they did that segment with the New Day. Is you had like Austin McFoley and Shawn Michaels, and when Shawn Michaels was the only one of the three legends to take his shirt off, and I feel like a lot of people online were like, he's still in wrestling shape. We're like very surprised.
Like just for that little bit, he got into shape, like started training, started going crazy. And that was just for that.
Oh my
So like
God.
I think he would be super capable, but I don't think it would be the match that everyone would really want to see.
Yeah, no, I think there'd be such high expectations for that
Exactly.
because it's like he's Mr. WrestleMania. It's AJ Styles, who at this point, if he's not having match of the year for like consistently, it's like, yeah, the expectations would be huge on that match.
Yeah.
It'd be crazy.
Yep, it all makes sense, but we can dream and we can imagine. Use
We
our
can make that fan
imaginations.
art.
Yes, fan
That's
art.
out there.
Somebody else really awesome, Ruby Riott. We've talked about her before. She had her official NXT debut and challenged Nikki Cross and joined in this big old battle that was just popping off in the ring. So it's exciting to see that now, she's in the spotlight. She's somebody who maybe we wouldn't have seen in the WWE a few years ago. So it's very exciting. We're all really excited and happy for her. I'm going to say excited one more time just because.
Well, that's the interesting state of the WWE right now is like in the early 2000s, the ruthless aggression era, where it was a lot of, this is the post-Austin Mankind Rock era, where it's like there was a lot of, for lack of a better term, bodybuilders on the male side and models on the female side. And I think that's the era that like a lot of wrestling fans of our generation kind of got out of wrestling, if they got out of it, that tends to be the era. It tends to be like a lot of people will be like, what's the last thing you remember? And a lot of people kind of go, oh, the invasion angle. And then I kind of started, I checked in here and there, and I kind of dropped off. And then a lot of people came back after the pipe bomb. And I feel like it was kind of like Punk and Daniel Bryan kind of brought this indie flavor. And I feel like we're now starting to see more and more of that, of like smaller people who can actually wrestle on both sides of the gender divide. And I think it's great, but it's just so fascinating to see how that company can change 10 years later.
I'm just so excited to see Heidi Lovelace in WWE and see her finally debuting. I'm waiting for Kimberly. Like, it's just awesome that they're bringing in all these amazing female talents. And there's more that have been signed that just, I think, have visa issues right now, right? Like, that they're trying to probably get figured out. And those girls are amazing. Yes. And I just can't wait, because right now I know that people are a little bummed about how the women's division in NXT is going. Yeah. And it's like they have the talent. It's just a little like, and then once they bring all these girls into the spotlight, it's going to blow up again.
Yeah, I think we're going to see it when the way to get that, whenever it's supposed to happen. I think it's supposed to happen sometime this year, is that like women's tournament.
Yep.
That was supposed to be like CWC.
Yeah.
Which they have not confirmed, but the rumors are.
But also there's a reason they just had a tryout with like only women.
Yeah, 100%.
Nani?
And so I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think like the hope is that once they do this tournament, you'll see a lot of those wrestlers funneled into NXT and not just given like the purple rope Raw segments.
I certainly hope they don't make ladies show and like
the
they do
lady
with 205
segment.
Live. Oh. Let's not even wish that. Let's not even think about it. Moving on. So some really sad news. Jim Ross's wife, Jan Ross, passed away from an automobile accident. I believe she was on a Vespa. What was, first of all, it's always terrible when anybody passes away, especially so unexpectedly. But watching that unfold on Twitter made it hurt even more, because we actually got to see him being like, hey guys, I need your prayers. She, the accident has happened, all the way to, she passed away. So really keeping Jim Ross in my thoughts this week.
Yeah, and then seeing a lot of wrestlers, Charlotte and Triple H and stuff like that, like tweeting out to him. And that's kind of the interesting thing of like Twitter nowadays, is you get that kind of, there can be like a public passing, and you see like people who know those people publicly stating their feeling, and it's like there's no judgment on that. It's just it's so interesting. But yeah, it's very sad.
I think it brings you into something that is very personal.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. But I did find myself crying, reading. I don't know Jan at all, but reading about this made me really sad.
Yeah, if you listen to the Ross Report, which is Jim Ross's podcast, which I highly recommend. I mean, we're talking about a very sad thing, but I do like that podcast because his commercial readings are the strangest things sometimes. He will do character voices.
Yeah, he's a character. Jim Ross is a character.
He's his own character. But he's often talked about how his wife was helping him through like his own health issues. Jim Ross is very well known. Health issues, strokes, and things of that nature. So yeah, it's very kind of like it's kind of one of those things where it's like the more we get into podcasting and Twitter and stuff like that, you feel like you get to know these people,
right?
And like like Jan Ross, as far as I know, was never on television or anything like that. But if you were finding that podcast, you heard enough about her that you kind of feel like you got to know them as a couple. So yeah, very very sad. And I do
want to say, somebody said it in the chat, but let's say it again. Please wear your helmet, always. She was not wearing a helmet. They don't know if that would have saved her life, but they said it probably would have helped a lot. So if any of you guys ride Vespas and bikes and motorcycles, please wear your helmets. Thank you. From Sarah. Just thinking here, like, I don't want to wear this stupid helmet, but Sarah told me to, so
yeah. And especially like, Jim Ross is somebody who does interact with fans on Twitter, so feel free to kind of throw him some support if you wanted to do that. And this isn't our thing, but I think it's worth it. Enough people were hitting me up on Twitter, and even when I came in today, Ryan was like, any update on that Paige leaks thing? So maybe we can talk about it just very, very briefly, very, very briefly. We did talk about it last week. If we didn't talk about it at all, we wouldn't talk about it. But seemingly WWE is going to treat this as if her and Xavier, not Brad, because Brad doesn't work at the company anymore, but like
fuck Brad.
Yeah, Brad Maddox doesn't work there anymore. But they are going to treat them as victims of a crime. Mm-hmm. And which is to say they're not going to do anything as far as like punishment, which is good. And I guess it's worth saying like New Day did kind of a little joke about it on Raw, which was interesting, where they had like a video segment where the video opened up and Xavier was kind of standing there with his arms crossed, and Big E goes, "Is there anything you want to tell us?" and then Xavier goes WrestleMania, and they jumped right into it.
I love when they do that. Like that one time they like hinted that they were about to say slavery, and then they were like cell phones. It was just like they're very good at subverting humor. Yeah, I'd sent a text off and was like, everything okay? And I was told everything's gonna be okay. So as far as they know, everything's gonna be all right.
I know you guys probably talked about this last week, but I was really worried that she would have repercussions and he wouldn't. That was like my biggest concern.
I think that was a concern for a lot of people.
Yeah,
even Dave
because,
Meltzer talked about that. He's like, hopefully, if they're gonna get punished, punish all of them, or don't punish any of them.
Exactly.
And maybe that's why they didn't punish. But there are some people now working at the WWE who are trying to be more progressive, especially as it has to do with sexism and women. So hopefully this is just another sign of that we're seeing. So scroll down because that's the news. Yeah. Look
This
at
is
that.
an inverted mouse.
Oh no, that's the worst. So we want to talk to you a little bit, Heather. Ask you a bunch of questions. So for anyone who hasn't seen you wrestle, who is Heather Monroe?
Well, I spread girl power to the masses,
That's
as
awesome.
you know.
Girl power.
And I just want to be kind of a positive role model to young girls everywhere, because when I was growing up, I had Lita and she was my girl. And even though they were doing some really
Like live sex
Yeah,
shows, stuff on
well, no,
her.
that wasn't when I was
later.
growing up.
But
That
they had
was-
like the robes with the bikinis, I think.
They
still.
did like bra and panties matches, but like she
Oh,
was
yes,
always
yes.
like getting involved in the guys matches and like still being a super badass. And so I just want to have that for young girls. So when I go out there, I try and do that kind of stuff and show them that they can do whatever they want and that kind of stuff.
And you're pretty awesome. So what did get you into wrestling then?
I watched it when I was young. So I started watching in the 6th grade, and with my group of guy friends, we would have like pay-per-view parties and trampoline wrestle, and I was always Lita. And I was
Did you
it
do
was
the whole
always
thing? Did you
well,
do, like,
yeah.
when you
Well,
did the
and
moves?
I had the Hardy Boys. I had like the Jeff Hardy T-shirt and the Hardy
that's
Boy
awesome.
necklace. And I would always face Kurt Angle, who my friend was always Kurt Angle. But yeah, it was. I just got into it just with this group of guys, and I started watching it, and I kind of fell off and on, and then I decided a couple years ago that it was something I always wanted to do, and I decided to pursue it, and it was really hard, but I stuck with it. Yeah.
It's definitely hard. Thank you for reading that, because in case people think I'm just being a pussy, it's hard.
It's really, really hard. Yeah.
So you mentioned Lita. Do you have any other like wrestling role models?
Sarah Del Rey was huge when I was in college. I was really starting to watch a lot of Shimmer and a lot of more of like just straight up like women's wrestling, because I'm a women's wrestling fan. Like even when I watched like a few years ago before I started to wrestle, I would just watch the women's stuff,
Right.
and I wouldn't care about what the guys were doing. But her. I really love Kimberly. I think she's a great example of how intergender wrestling really does work, especially when the guys have respect for the women that they're wrestling. And yeah, those are probably my main.
Awesome. So
people that I
Shimmer,
watch.
did you actually,
Well, actually,
end up
that-
doing anything with Shimmer?
Well, that'd be good because a lot of our fans they don't know wrestling. A lot of people have written to us and
yes.
tell us like, oh, I haven't watched wrestling for years. A lot of people just know WWE. So do you want to maybe just like let people know what
yeah.
Shimmer is?
Yeah, Shimmer is an all women's wrestling promotion that's based out of Chicago, and you can buy their DVDs. You can buy stuff online to download. But yeah, I did a seminar for them, and I did a dark match at Shimmer. I didn't actually have a match on like the actual show, but yeah, it was probably like one of the best experiences in my life. It was called Rise. Kevin Harvey does it. And it was just a really awesome experience to be surrounded by supportive women, and Shine is another really awesome women's promotion. But yeah, that's like my main thing. I don't really watch a lot of like men's stuff. I used to watch it like back in the day, but anymore.
Yeah, no, I found myself doing the same thing. I pretty much turned on the television for like China, Miss Jackie,
Yeah.
and The Rock. It's like, it's
Yeah.
just, that's what I wanted to watch.
Let me ask you this, because we do love to kind of throw a homework out to our viewers. Do you have, if you had to, there's so much, but if you had to throw out a Shimmer Shine match where you had to be like, go watch this, is there any that you can think of? You don't have to have that answer right now, but if you want to think about it throughout the show.
I mean, I can think about it and get some more, but there's a really good match. I don't know which Shimmer it is, but it's definitely Shimmer. That is between Sarah Del Rey and Kana, who's Asuka. And that one's really awesome. It's a really great match, and it just kind of shows the the difference in style. And I just watched one that was like more recent. It was a really good match between Kimberly and Mercedes Martinez, and that one was really awesome. I think it was at AIW.
It has an A and a W.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Let
There
us
you go.
know.
One of those.
Figure it out. Put it in the chat.
That was also like a very good match between two really amazing female wrestlers.
Awesome. We'll get those links for you guys. Check the Ready to Ramble hashtag, and we will get those assigned out to you officially. So, as a wrestler, do you have a favorite move that you like to perform?
I've recently got into head kicks.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
great.
wow.
Yeah. My finish is the buzzsaw, which Tajiri did or does still, I suppose. And
But
yeah,
not as good as Heather.
I just
We're calling you out to
Yeah,
Jerry.
Tajiri, bring it. But yeah, it is a way for me to have power against anyone, no matter the size. So that's probably my favorite move to do on anyone.
Awesome. Is there a move that you hate receiving, like out of all the moves that you're just like, I don't,
A back body drop.
yeah?
A back body drop is the worst. A power bomb is really not fun. Yeah.
What do you not like about them? Is it the lack of being able to see where you're about to land?
Lack of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Yeah.
So we already talked about, well, do you have a favorite match other than the ones that you named? Like one that you're like, this was really a big moment for me when I watched this match, or one that you actually participated in that you were like, this was the most fun I ever had or meant a lot to me?
It's funny you brought up retirement matches because Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels is one of my favorite of all time matches. Other than that, like I just like watched so much and took in so much that I didn't really like have one that I like just rewatched over and over and over again. But
Do you have a favorite match of your own too? Like one that you were like, this was the dopest?
I mean, I think one of my more recent matches against Darwin Finch at Sabotage is probably my favorite match. And I just got to wrestle Taya from Lucha Underground, and I felt like it was a really good match as well. But yeah, the one at Santino Bros against Darwin was like kind of my coming out party of like being able to kind of be the bad guy, and it was someone I'm super comfortable with, and it was just fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that match. I was in the crowd in the back watching that match.
So yeah, some people might wonder, do you work heel or face currently?
Both. It just depends where. But I enjoy working heel more.
Heel,
but
yeah.
I think because of the message that I'm trying to have and all of that, it works better for me to be a face. But someone asked about Thunder Rosa's company, Sabotage Wrestling. And yes, I've done Sabotage 2 times. I wrestled Diosa Athena the first time, and then I just wrestled with Holodead as my tag team partner in the second one, and I'll be in Austin on May 13th.
So
that's
Sabotage
awesome.
out.
Yeah, we're gonna have you throw out some dates for sure because our fans are all over the map, which is great. So yeah, so have you met? Have you been fortunate enough? Because people being wrestling, I think it's like we're always fans first. Have you been able to meet any of the people you grew up admiring by chance?
Yes, and it's interesting how it's not a thing. Like if I was like still just a fan and not a wrestler, I think I would be like, oh my god. But it's
Jesus.
like those people are now my coworkers and my peers, and like you'll be in a locker room with someone that you used to watch on TV. Like I was just at PCW last night to watch Douglas James wrestle, and Rob Van Dam and MVP were the main event, and it was like, oh hey, that's Rob Van Dam.
Right.
Like it's really cool, but it's not something that I'm like, I want to take a picture with him and like that kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah, I can understand that from like in the realm of comedy, where it's like you can grow up, because I do a lot of comedy and stuff like that in like theaters, and you will go and you'll be backstage at Upright Citizens Brigade and just be like, oh, there's a guy I grew up watching on SNL forever.
Right.
And they're just sitting there drinking a beer like, how's it going? And I'm like, good. And it kind of like is this click of like,
they're humans.
They're a human being.
The only one was when I did Raw at the Staples Center this last time. The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin were there.
Perfect.
And literally the first thing that when I walked in, Stone Cold Steve Austin was standing there talking to people, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I was just like, walk past like that. Those are the only people that I've been like that, and it's just like, I think that's because it was my childhood and it wasn't like people that I am in locker rooms with or anything like that. You know what I mean?
So speaking of Raw, that match with Nia, like what was that like? What was the experience of getting to work for WWE?
Well, let's talk about what the segment was.
Yes,
for those who
yes.
maybe didn't get to watch it.
So for anyone who hasn't seen it, Nia Jax often will face a local wrestler. And it's kind of a match to show how strong Nia is and to really position her as this unstoppable force. They were doing the same thing with Braun, actually pretty much at the same time for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone doesn't remember, Nia Jax is the one who's not like most girls.
No, yeah. The thing about Nia, they were setting up, because they both came, this was right after the draft split, and they were setting her up, her and Braun Strowman as like these beasts that were unstoppable, and they were doing squash matches, and that was like, it was interesting because it was the return of the squash match, what they had not done in WWE for quite a while, especially on Raw. And that was something like in the 90s growing up, I was very used to seeing is like wrestlers, you had no idea who they were. They had their hair in a ponytail and a singlet, and like they'd be taken out by the Godwins or something like that. And I was just like, who are these people and why are they never back next week? But squash matches were always good about setting up like, oh, these people are monsters. So then when you set them loose on, in Nia's case, Sasha Banks, or in Braun's case, Roman Reigns, we're like, they've been winning matches nonstop. This is going to be crazy. So that's the point of a squash match, commonly.
Right. So what was that experience like getting to actually work with WWE?
It was really cool. I really wasn't expecting it because it's so close to WrestleMania. I was like, they for sure won't be doing any squash matches. Like, if anything, maybe I'll like be standing backstage and people like they'll have us standing somewhere, you know. But it was, they were like, hey, as soon as we got there, like, hey, put your like stuff on. We want to see you roll around. And it was like, great. And then I found out, and I was like so anxious the whole time. But it was, once I got out into the ring and I looked around and I could hear people saying my name because it was in the Staples Center.
Yeah,
like people, my like fans that
Yeah.
have watched me were there. And so it was like very like, oh, okay. And the match went fine. I mean, she's bigger than you think she is.
Yeah.
Like that's one
That's an example.
That's one in person. She is very big and like tall.
Yeah, she's tall too, because like we've seen, like she is. So those maybe who don't know, Nia Jax is like the legitimate cousin of The Rock, and we've seen a couple photos of them like together, like when they're in the same town, like at the gym together, and she's almost as tall as The Rock, if not tall.
Yeah, she's big, and so it was like, oh man, this is gonna be interesting. But I felt really good about the whole thing, and like,
did you guys have that match like kind of in like set up, or was that just you got in the ring and you read each other? Like, what kind of match was that?
Yeah, we set it up, but it was live TV. So before we went out, it was supposed to be longer, and so before we went out, it's like, okay, well, it got cut down a minute to a minute. Okay, it got cut down to 30 seconds. Like, and she had 3 minutes to do everything she needed to do.
Right.
And so it was like, get in, get out kind of thing. And I was just like, this must be really stressful for her, like to have to like deal with that. But yeah, overall, like that was kind of the only thing. But like I said, once I got out there,
awesome,
it felt fine.
That's so cool. So another really awesome thing that you do is Luchifer. Can you tell people a little bit about what that is for anyone not in the know?
So Luchifer is, I went on tour for off and on throughout a little over a year with the band Pussifer, who is MJK from Tool's band.
Yeah, James Maynard.
Yeah.
From A Perfect Circle and Tool, for those who don't know.
And so he was like, had this big idea about having a Lucha Libre act open up as the opener instead of having a band. And so it was before I had debuted even. It was like, I was still training and they auditioned and I got it. And then we traveled around and we did this Lucha Libre act. It was La Serena was my character name, and she was a ditzy niece of Valiente, Senor Valiente.
She's got her
and I got my pigtails, and yeah, so that for me was probably the best experience I could have asked for starting out, because I got to get comfortable in a ring in front of non-wrestling fans,
right,
and learning how to work with that, and just getting used to myself as a wrestler and that kind of stuff. So it was a really cool experience.
Right.
and just fun to travel around and kind of get the idea of what it would be like to be wrestling on a schedule and on a tour.
Right.
So what?
Cameron, do you think you could pull up a picture too of her character? If you just search Luchifer, the way it's spelled on there, one of her pictures will show up. She's the one in blue with the ponytails.
But yeah, we got to
Lucifer, I'm an idiot.
Lucifer, the devil.
Yeah.
That is what we wish to speak of.
we like did an opening act, and then we were on stage the whole time that the band was playing, pretty much, and did matches in between and got to mess around. They were like, go out there and do whatever you want to us, and we'll let you know if it was too much.
That sounds
And
awesome.
it
Did
was
they ever
never
say,
too much.
"Oh,
Like, honestly, Maynard, he was like, the weirder the better. Like, that's totally his mentality. Oh yeah.
This one?
Yeah, that one's
That
great.
one's me. Yeah, I was breaking her back and making her humble.
That
Beautiful.
mask is amazing.
Yeah.
So for our fans, what is it like to wrestle in those masks?
That was easy for me because it has a hole where I can breathe out of.
Right.
But if you look through more, there's a guy that is in all black, and right there. If you go
Here?
up, no, up one more, right there. Yeah, the guy in all black has his face completely covered and his mouth completely covered, and
this like Spider-Man thing.
Yeah.
Oh my
I think
god.
it looks more like Venom, but it's fine.
There's those black suit Spider-Man, Sarah. There's black suit Spider-Man before Venom got the
Okay.
suit. How
All
dare
right,
you?
if you say so.
How dare you?
Okay.
But yeah, when you're wrestling in a mask like that you don't have a hole for your mouth, you have to like really train in it and like get used to it, because otherwise you cannot breathe.
Yeah, I'd probably just suffocate.
Yeah,
Just
that's
die.
why.
Like,
That's
it's
why
very
when we found out, I was like, I need a hole for my mouth because there's no way.
Well, yeah, that was. I remember reading an interview with Kane once, and him talking about like wearing that original Kane mask that just covered everything except for the chin strap, and it was like, and he would have it like fire matches and all these other things. And I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, no, that would be really difficult. But overall, I think it's more fun because you just get to go out and be really silly, and you're a completely different person. Like, it's not on Heather Monroe.
Yeah.
What happens, it's like, oh, that was La Serena, and La Serena did this really silly thing that like does like no one's gonna come to me after and be like, that was really like bad what you did. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
because it's like a superhero, and which is why Lucha Libre is so fun.
Well, it's like that. It's that actors thing of like, you read interviews sometimes where it's like actors feel like they haven't found the character till they can put the costume on. And when I do sketch comedy, if I have to wear a mask or any kind of facial thing, there is something about covering your face that kind of makes you feel like, for lack of a better term, like, I don't give a shit. Like, you want to do the best work you can, but it's very freeing to just be like, oh, I'm going to do this crazy, wacky thing.
Right.
That without that mask or without that facial appliance, you would just be like,
Like you don't feel as embarrassed
Yeah.
to do silly things.
And it's fascinating. It's
Yeah.
some interesting psychology of masks. So what was it like going on like a tour? Because I think maybe people watching might like, you'll hear about a tour and you'll think like maybe like, especially like a tour that's not a giant WWE corporation kind of wrestling tour, but more like an indie thing. Like, what is that like, the day to day?
It was really easy for me,
Right.
because we had like a very hard job once the actual show started of like wrestling for pretty much 3 hours, like being on for 2 or 3 hours. But like day to day, we'd get on the bus afterwards, and it'd be a tour bus, so we got to sleep and like hang out, and then we wouldn't have to be at the venue till 6:45 p.m. the next day. Like, that's when they needed us ready, and the band had to do sound check. The crew had to be there already, like at bright and early, and so it's like we had the easiest job in that sense. But then once we got in the ring, it was obviously like a lot harder. But so for me, it was a really awesome experience. I got to see places in the United States that I had never thought I wanted to see, in
Right.
Europe that I'd never thought I wanted to see. Like, I went to Bratislava, and I would have never picked that place.
I don't even know where that is.
But it's like a Disney town. Like, it looks like a Disney town and they had this cool like marketplace, and it was just like getting to go to these awesome places I would never have visited otherwise.
That's
Really
amazing.
cool.
Yeah.
Do you prefer the lucha style or the American style for wrestling?
I like to do an American lucha because I was taught lucha. So I like to do the high flying, like fun stuff, but I also like to do head kicks.
Right. Makes sense. So did you learn that at Santino's, the lucha style?
Yeah, Las Luchas, Zocre and Phoenix Star are amazing, amazing trainers there, and they do lucha class every Tuesday. And that class is like once you've got the basics and you go there, it's like you're starting over wrestling all over again, because they're like, oh, you're gonna moonsault today, and you're like, I can't do a backflip, and they're like, you're gonna do it, and then you do it, and you're like,
And you do it.
you're right.
Wow,
Okay. Yep, I did that. And they just like are super positive, and they're like, you're gonna learn this today, and you're like, I don't think I'm gonna learn that today.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Nope, you're doing that. Okay. And yeah, it just like makes you more aware. Yeah, they're awesome. I can't say enough good things about them.
So if there was one thing that you wish people knew about wrestling, what do you think that would be? Like that fans or smarks or marks or anything would just know about wrestling?
I want them to know how hard it is. Like,
Oh, Sarah showed us some Bruce photos prior. We've
oh
seen.
man, during training, it's no joke. And the people that are doing this, even if they're bad at doing it, are doing harder things than you will probably ever do. And even though it is choreographed, it is not fun for your body.
Right.
So that's like the main thing that I wish people would understand. And if you think you can do it, go try it.
Go try it.
Like-
Go try it and let me know.
And so yeah, that's like the main thing, like that it's so hard. And I knew it was going to be hard going in when I first started. I got really like in shape to like start training, and it was really, really rough. And yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that's maybe something that's interesting. Maybe a lot of people, because I'll see this online sometimes where people go like, because you mentioned being in shape, where I'll see people talk about like Kevin Owens and being like, you know, don't you have to be in shape to be a wrestler and this, that, and the other. It's very different to be like bodybuilder in shape and to not get gassed out.
And in-ring shape is not the same.
Oh, yeah.
You could run a marathon and probably still not have good cardio in the ring. That's the thing. It's such a weird stop and go thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I always say this was the hardest thing I ever did, and then I had to stop. But even still, there was a sense of pride too of being like, this was the hardest thing I've ever done. I did Muay Thai. I played a sport. You know, I'd gotten in how many street fights, but you know, I dropped down in the floor, and I'm like, oh, I pulled my back. My entire back doesn't work.
Yeah,
now.
when they say taking a bump is like getting hit by a car going 35 miles an hour, and think when you watch your next wrestling match, count how many times they do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there's also something like a lot of people talk about, is the ring padded? Is it not this? And there's certainly in WWE, the ring's not padded, but there's like a little bit of spring, there's a little bit of regulation. You'll see it but indie stuff is very.
It depends on the place.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
A big bad way.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the place. But that's why a lot of people get there and set up the ring
Yeah.
to see what's
make
going
sure.
on. See what's going on, what they're working with.
Yeah, and that might be something that a lot of people don't know is like if you are, and even back in the day, WWE and WCW used to do this, where it's like if you were an up and coming wrestler, you worked on the ring crew, like you helped set up.
They do that in NXT.
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
which is
and that's
good.
a way for people like. For those of you watching, like it's not just a case of like you show up with your ring gear, put it on, go have your match, or just like go talk with what's now called the agents to kind of go like, here's the steps of the match and blah 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 blah. You also have to go there and like it'd be like if you're doing a play and you had to build the theater before
Right.
you went and performed Hamlet.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in theater class, at least when I took it, we did have to learn those things too. You know, that was part of the process is also being able to respect what goes into putting on a show.
Yeah, the craft.
Which
Yeah.
is kind of similar to how at Santino's, at least, if you want to be a ref or if you want to be a manager, you still go through the same training as wrestlers, because then you have to understand all of that stuff too, all of the things that go into it like
Right.
that.
Absolutely. So nowadays, you know, we're not in the Attitude Era. We're in this era of where the revolution has occurred. And,
Yes.
You know, so what's it like being
Yeah,
a
there's
woman?
no Sasha Banks
Right.
calendar of her on a beach
Well,
getting
listen,
covered in sand.
Listen, though, I think calendars are fine. I just think there should be more guy calendars. That's all. Just, please, just give me like Seth and the New Day and Braun just like in a calendar, and they don't need just a lot of oil, and you've got magic. Magic. What's it like being a woman in the wrestling industry?
I mean, I can't say what it was like before this, but it's still pretty difficult to show what you're capable of, especially like a lot of promotions don't want to do intergender matches.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to ask about that.
Yeah, and so I think that's for women because there's fewer women's wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
It would give more women opportunities to have different opponents. And so I
Right.
think that there's a lot of guys that still don't think women deserve the respect in wrestling. And I'm talking about like some male wrestlers that don't think women deserve the respect, even though we're doing the same things and putting in the same amount of work.
Mm-hmm.
But so it is hard in that respect. But also there is so many women's promotions now and so many people discovering that women's wrestling can mean something more.
Mm-hmm.
And so like places like Sabotage are popping up out here, and then there's Shimmer and Shine, and there's a lot of companies that do women's shows, and AWS that's running tonight out of Southgate. He has like 2 women's matches on this show, and the last one he had 3 or 4. He doesn't care. He's always like, I know what's going to do well, and I know
Right.
who's going to do well. And so, yeah, it's just finding that level of respect, I think, is still a little lost.
Yeah, I was surprised. So I think it was B-Boy that posted, like, he had an intergender match, and he was like, well, you know what? I've learned a lot from this, and I want to help, like, try to support this going forward, and blah, blah, blah. And I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, this is, like, still a thing. People have to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think wrestling, like so many things, it feels like there's still a very old boys mentality to it, where it's like, these are the traditions and we never break the traditions, and intergender matches being one of those things. But I think with the rise of like, because 2 weeks ago on Netflix, Lucha Underground came out, and I think a lot of our viewers were hitting us up on Twitter telling us like, oh, they started watching and they're loving it. Lucha Underground's getting them back into wrestling. So I think like both intergender matches are growing, for lack of a better term. Like, I think we're probably going to see more and more of that. Will WWE do them? I don't know.
Well, we actually technically
Yeah.
had one. Yeah,
Oh,
on
true.
SmackDown. What's his name?
Tyler Breeze.
Tyler Breeze. I'm like, his name is not Breezango. What is his real name? So Tyler Breeze dressed up as Brie Bella and was Breezy Bella, and she actually got to wrestle him very briefly, put him in the rack thing and dropped him down. But like, I was like, does this mean something, or is it just if a man is in drag, he's a woman?
Well, but WWE more recently, and back when I started watching, would always now they only let the girl do something to the guy. Back in the day, it was obviously they didn't give it crap.
But man, China, the things that used to happen.
But like Bailey's given Bailey to bellies to people, to guys, and like they let the girl do stuff to the guy,
Right.
but they don't let the guys do
to the
anything
point of
to the
even
girls.
sometimes the women valets will stand between their man and the other one, and it's like, oh, can't hit him now because there's a woman in the way, which is so interesting because, like you said, growing up watching the Attitude Era is like they just spear
Edge,
that
how many
lady.
times did Edge spear Lita? Like,
a lot
seriously.
of women went through
I mean,
tables.
Let's be honest. Like one of the and people.
all of Bubba Ray Dudley put
Every woman through a table.
so many people
Oh,
through
so many.
tables.
But people talked about like one of the biggest pops that came last year's WrestleMania was when Reigns speared Stephanie.
Right? Yeah.
That's what we like. So hopefully they're coming back around.
Yeah, I think there's definitely guys in the industry that are totally Joey Ryan, totally cool with doing that. They respect women and what they're doing, and I think that once there's more guys like that and more promoters that are willing to put that in front, because a lot of people like to watch it too, and
Right.
so yeah, we'll see.
Especially well done matches, and some people commented on that. They were like, "Oh, I didn't really see how intergender, could work." But then I think it was Taya's match.
With Brian Cage.
No, not the Cage one. It was an earlier. Well, maybe it was Cage. You know what? It all blends together. But one of her matches where she was, it was Cage, where she wasn't winning. Her hits weren't hitting him as strongly. So it's
But
like
she was just being resilient.
right.
But that's Lucha Underground does that so well because they don't make it this is a guy versus girl match. They're
Right.
just like, this is this person versus this person,
They pretty
and we'll
much-
see who wins.
The only and I don't even want to play it up, but if they will have like this guy's a monster.
Yeah.
And he's gonna face this girl. But they would do it too if it was like one of the smaller guys.
If it was Brian
Right.
Cage versus
Or Rey
someone else,
Mysterio or
it'd be-
something, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They'd be like, how's he gonna do against this monster?
And I think this all the time, there, especially with the cruiserweights and everything, there are plenty of smaller, more slender looking guys that, I feel like Charlotte could actually legitimately beat them.
Yeah,
She's
Charlotte's
big.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So we do have a segment on the show called Wrestlers Are Geeks Too. So I wanted to rapid fire throw out some geek questions your way, especially for this channel. Comic books, movies, video games, anything else you are into? And if the answer is no, that's fine. I know wrestling takes up a
TV
large
shows
chunk of
as
someone's
well.
life.
TV
Well,
counts.
I'm into TV shows, but they're not geeky TV shows.
That's okay.
I would say I am a geek for crappy reality shows.
What are you loving?
I just love mindless TV shows that I can just have on in the background. Oh, I'm also a huge geek for true crime.
Oh, okay.
I-
like documentaries and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I prefer it to be real like documentary type stuff. Like, I was just watching the first 48 before I came over here.
You know, I
That's on at the gym all the time when I'm at the
love
gym.
it. I
I
can't
felt
get enough.
really smart as like a 10 or 13-year-old when I watched one of those, and I was like, "Oh, it was a hatchet." And my sister, as a nurse, was like, "What are you talking? Why are you just saying a hatchet?" I was like, "Look at the shape of the thing in the skull. That's a hatchet." And the show was a hatchet, and she was really impressed, and I was really proud.
Yeah.
That's my true crime story.
Yeah, I'm a huge nerd on that kind of stuff.
So, it's true crime reality, but do you because reality, like, it's not on right now, but we are going to talk about it when it comes back. Like, are you a fan of Total Divas, that kind of stuff?
Total Divas, let the record show, is the reason I was like, I could do that.
Well, then we got to have you back when Total Divas comes
Yeah.
back on.
I watched it and I was like, oh, remember when I wanted to be a wrestler? And then I was like watching these girls and I was like, I think I could do that.
Makes sense.
Yep. So yeah, I watch Total
Absolutely.
Divas. I watch The Bachelor. I
that's a hot
hate
thing
it.
right
I
now.
hate it so much.
I have not, for
I hate
real,
it.
never met a person that said they watched The Bachelor and they're happy with it.
I hate it. I love hate it. I love
That's
hate it.
a friend. He was like, "I got to start watching this show because this is stupid." And
It's
like,
terrible, and it's.
Yep.
I just talk at my screen the whole time, and I'm like, "Ugh, why are you doing this? Ugh, they make me sick." But I can't stop watching.
Don't do this.
No, it's the same with Are You the One on MTV. I don't know if you watch that, but yeah, that's the same thing. I'm like, these people are idiots, but I keep watching.
Nope, I totally understand.
I love it.
That's amazing.
So do we want to open it up to the
Yeah,
chat
I
for
was just
some
about to say,
questions? time?
let's do some Q&A, guys. If you have any questions for Heather or for us or for everyone else in the chat, go ahead and put them in, and we'll stall for time while you do that. So, Heather, please tell everyone all the places they can find you, the ways they can support you, any shows,
Merch.
all of that.
Yeah, I'm Heather Monroe on Facebook, and on Twitter and Instagram, Heather is me, all one word. You can buy my Killer Beige shirt. I also have a shirt with my face on it, and a
Do
shirt
it.
that says Heather Monroe and Cats and Pro Wrestling.
Yes.
Um,
I like that one.
and those are all available through PayPal. You can email me at heathermonroebooking@gmail.com or just direct message me on one of those things. And yeah, they're $20.
So, someone said, how long
Fantastic.
have you been wrestling?
I've been wrestling for a little over a year. I debuted in the beginning of October of last year, but I trained for a year before that. So I started in September of 2014.
Years blend together.
Yeah.
It really, it's
2014?
17 now.
Yeah. So yeah. So 2014. No, yeah, I think so.
Someone else wants to know, did you do sports when you were in high school?
I didn't. I danced. I did dance and I did tennis. So tennis was a good cardio thing, but I think dance really, really helped me out with being able to have control over my body.
Right.
Yeah, that's something I'm actually curious about. I'm sure people in the chat are too. If you say like you can run a marathon, that doesn't mean you can't. That's the right cardio for in the. So what it would be like a correct cardio regiment? for that?
Sprints is what I did. I did like the back and forth sprints, like I was running the ropes.
Mhm.
Jumping
running like ropes.
Yeah, line jumping, like doing jumps over the line, like anything like that. Burpees.
Right.
Um,
It's like small, condensed, but quick paced.
quick go, stop, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
How big was Ruby Ray's in your training?
Ruby was there for some of my training. She definitely is one of the people that I would go to if I had questions. She really helped me in the beginning of like getting booked and meeting a lot of the girls. And I've wrestled her on so many occasions. But yeah, Ruby was really, really helpful in the beginning of my training and kind of helping me step into the actually wrestling in the business.
Right.
Someone asked, when wrestling a match with someone like a Nia Jax, do you have to do anything different versus someone with a different skill set?
Yeah, so originally when I started wrestling, I wanted to do a lot of the high flying stuff, but I kind of realized against people that are bigger like Ruby, I had to do more things that wouldn't knock them off their feet. So that's why I do more kicks and stuff like that. Now I kind of keep it more grounded and stuff that I can take people down with in a different way.
Right. Makes sense. So somebody asked if you could be a manager or have somebody as your protege right now who's wrestling.
Oh man, I don't know.
I think you should just take
Lita?
Okay, that
Just
works.
Lita, period.
Just Lita. Fine. Yes.
That'd be great.
Hentai is porn. We've addressed this already. People who don't think it's porn are stupid.
Do you want to tell people what you're talking about?
Okay,
in case they're
so
watching this on YouTube.
In the I was just on Krillin It right before this show because I consider myself their unofficial third host, and hentai came up as a topic, and Danny Fernandez, who hosts that show, said that, well, I'm talking about porn, like real porn, as if hentai isn't porn. I think that's cray. It's a crazy thing to say. When going into something perceived as a squash match, how do you make sure you still look good in the ring and are not just a punching bag?
The best way is to stay alive. Like
Live.
even if you're getting beat up, to still look like you're fighting and trying to fight, making those kickouts big and keeping your face up so that people can see you. Because if you're just down like this, no one's gonna think you're living still.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I got you. So we had a training match that we did, and that was the note that I got from my friend in the WWE. Was like, you gotta like fight, and I was like, but I didn't. I thought I wasn't supposed to. It's fine. I learned, figured it out. It's all good, but definitely can see that when you wrestle. Somebody said, "What's your favorite gimmick of all time?" That's interesting.
Ooh, that's a broad
That's a
statement.
very
but
broad
That's a really
but
broad
I
statement.
kind of like keeping it broad.
Well, do you have one in the meantime,
Yeah,
Cameron?
give me some.
Oh man, gimmick matches. If we're doing gimmick and we're talking matches, I do have something for like the boiler room brawl kind of thing, where you're just gonna watch wrestlers go through an entire arena fighting each other as a cameraman has to follow them. It's so silly, but I do enjoy it. Outside of that,
You know, since it's such a broad question, I'll take it as like somebody's actual gimmick, and I will say the dark magic of Undertaker and Bray Wyatt
That's really
is
good,
one of my
too.
favorite gimmicks, because I think if you introduce "is this real, is this not real" into wrestling, you get some interesting sorts of stories you can tell.
let's not forget when Undertaker possessed somebody.
Right.
For me, I wish I could think of someone like just one person, but like for me, when I'm watching and someone can like make me laugh at how stupid and silly, you know what, Tyler Breeze, when he was in NXT doing the supermodel gimmick, and he just knew it, you know, and the same with like
Right.
Joey Ryan knows his gimmick, and it's entertaining to me every single time. Those type of things where it's stupid and silly, but the people like are really, really invested and like know it.
Right.
That's my favorite.
I think that's something that's underappreciated for anyone who just watches WWE, and this is why you should go to live shows as often as you can. Wrestling can be a very different vibe than what you've seen it portrayed as all the time, and I think the humor that can be found in wrestling is just so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're all in on the joke, so it's just a big feel-good fest, and it's
Yeah.
funny and also entertaining, and also the next moment you could be going, "Oh my God, is somebody about to moonsault into the like floor?" It's awesome.
Yeah, and
I
the
love
people
it.
that can do both those things are the best. They're my favorites.
If you
Definitely.
could be in a match with anyone, who would it be? And I want to open this up a little bit. Let's say you could face them in their prime. Let's say you have a machine. You could face any wrestler in their prime, any era.
I already know this answer, I bet. Go ahead.
Well, the women that I've already said,
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to wrestle Lita. I would love to wrestle Sarah Del Rey. I think those would be two completely different matches too, and they would make me change my style up. Like with Lita, I could probably do more things to her than I could do to Sarah Del Rey. She was in her prime a lot bigger than she is now. But yeah, I think that would be just amazing. But yeah.
And if you had to do an intergender one,
I think wrestling Ric Flair would be fun. Like,
Get all them
right? I would get chopped, but then he'd do a date, and I'd slap him.
He'd go to the top rope. You'd throw him on his back. like,
Exactly.
Cameron, I want your answer on that one too.
oh, if I could wrestle
You could
anybody?
wrestle anybody. Yeah, go ahead and think
Oh.
about it because I already have my answer. Oh wait, I did, and then we started talking and I forgot it. Oh, Bailey. Bailey is who I would love to wrestle because I actually this is one of the reasons why I stopped wrestling. I'm afraid of heights, and I wasn't able to get over it.
About to say Bailey did something to you.
But yeah,
I'm like,
Bailey did it. Bailey made me not want to wrestle anymore. But Bailey, her style is very on the mat. It's a lot of mat wrestling, except when she, at the very end goes up to jump and do something cool like her elbow or the splash. So she's somebody who I'd really like to have a match with because I wouldn't have to worry that, I was going to have to catch a moonsault.
I think Macho Man.
Macho Man?
Yeah.
That'd be a good one. He'd be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As much as though you hear how much of a or Punk. Punk would also be like those matches where you're like, oh, this is gonna be a great match. I can do crap because these guys are so good. They're gonna make me look great.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Favorite person on the mic?
The Rock.
Yeah.
He was so good, man.
Yeah.
He was.
He could do it all. Like, he could be super serious, and he could do the really silly, stupid stuff. He'd sing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're a bitch.
Yeah, and he would do like the silliest
Right.
things, but he was just so good at it.
Yeah, we ate it up.
Yep.
Oh, I think for me it might be Heyman.
Heyman's awesome. Yeah. There's a lot of really good guys.
Oh yeah. Oh.
It's funny. So every time, so the guy I live with does not, some of you guys know Cap, does not like wrestling at all. But he'll watch it with me sometimes. And he'll try not to say snarky comments the whole time. It's the same way when I watch The Flash. I try not to say this is the stupidest plot I've ever seen in my life.
I love The Flash.
You would. Anyway, but whenever Paul Heyman comes out, we both just kind of like, this man's about to talk for 4 minutes. But everyone else absolutely loves Paul Heyman. And I even see on Twitter, everyone's like, when he talks, you listen. So like, what do you guys think makes him like so engaging?
I think it's the way that he says what he says. He says it with a lot of conviction.
Yeah, you believe it.
And you believe it. Like, I think he definitely talks for a long time, and some of them are like, okay, you've said this already.
Right, I heard you.
But
is someone supposed to come out?
But the way he says it, and he's just like,
Well, a good example was after the squash match with Goldberg after SummerSlam, and then they had a segment with Heyman that was like in a studio, and they're like, how's Brock doing? And like Heyman's got these tears in his eyes. He's like, he's hurt. He's got broken ribs. How do you think he's doing? And you're like, I buy this. Like, and that's the thing. It's like the problem now with so many. Unlike the Attitude Era when wrestling really blew up, is like those guys were given scripts to be like, you got to hit these bullet points, but that's it, go do your thing. Now it's like so scripted, and I feel like Heyman is still doing the bullet point action where it's like, make sure you promote the network and this and that, but for the most part, kind of just gets to still do his thing. Like they seem to trust Paul the same way they seem to trust The Rock when The Rock comes out.
Right.
Although maybe they shouldn't trust The
Oh,
Rock.
The Rock was like, aha, that's what you do when you got money.
Yeah.
I think Stephanie is my favorite person on the mic.
She's great.
She's great. Yeah.
She does, because she loves like getting into like when she makes her voice like growly and
Yeah.
really digs into the villain thing.
Monday Night Raw. It's great. I love it. And I love when, like I said, I love how she can shut down a crowd. Or like the crowd is putty in her hands, and that's something that is an actual skill.
Right.
Oh
to be
yeah,
able
that's
to do.
very hard to do. Well, I think that's got to wrap it up for today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Yeah, so much
Yes.
for having
This
me.
is great. We're definitely going to have you back.
Yeah.
Especially when Total Divas comes back.
Oh, it's gonna be so
'Cause we
good.
are gonna
I
have that
just caught
segment.
up on the last season.
So do you know when you're?
so
do you
good.
have another show coming up anytime soon where people can check you out?
Well, yes. So I'm not going to be in SoCal again until April 29th at AWS in Southgate, but I'm going to be in Las Vegas next weekend for FSW. And that will be, what did I say when it is? The 31st?
Baby.
At FSW at the Silverton Casino. And then again on April 15th, I'll be at FSW.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Well, be sure to follow Heather on her Instagrams and her Twitter and Facebook too, and show her some love and maybe buy some merch if you liked what you heard.
Mm-hmm.
Because we some of us got Patreons that we need you to donate to. Do you know I gotta pay my rent, guys? Help me out.
And if you have questions for Heather, you didn't think of them now, but you got them down the road, hit her up on Twitter. And as for me and Sarah, you can find me on twitter.com/Jurassic Alien, there on Instagram and all that kind of stuff.
You can find me at Sarah the Rebel. Sarah's an H as God in the Bible intended. It's just the way it goes, guys. I didn't make the rules. The Bible did.
I'm going to have to look up where Sarah in the Bible is.
What? You crazy. You see, I can tell you don't read the Bible. All right.
Been a
Anyway,
while, been a while.
guys, this has been Ready to Ramble. Be sure to check us out next week. And we love
WrestleMania
you.
talk. We're gonna have to talk about it.
WrestleMania talk.
Ooh.
Point. Let's point at
Point,
the
yeah.
sign. And we're done.